Mr. Rude by Roger Hargreaves. Mr. Rude is rude. He is very, very rude. He is very, very rude. He is worse than very, very rude. He is extraordinarily rude. When you meet somebody who might think that you think to yourself that the person has a large nose, well, but you wouldn't say anything then, would you? Because that would be rude, wouldn't it? Well, Mr. Rude would just put it out, big nose, and he would stop there. Oh no, not Mr. Rude. Big nose. With a nose like that, you could vacuum the floor. Can you imagine saying that to someone? Well, I hope you can't. And he was the same with everyone. If you met someone overweight, he would shout, "Fatty, you're supposed to take the food out the fridge, not eat the fridge as well." When he was driving along in this car, he would yell rude things at the people he passed by. Mr. Rude was a horrible dad who didn't have a nice thing to say to anyone, and not surprisingly, no one liked him. One day, Mr. Rude met Little Miss Tiny. Or not so much near Jonathan. "Good morning," said Little Miss Tiny. "Look at the size of you," exclaimed Mr. Rude. "Squat. You said that I could squash you with my thumb." Poor Little Miss Tiny burst into tears and ran home. Okay, yeah. Behind a tree on the other side of the lane, Mr. Happy looked anything but happy. He had heard everything. Okay. The next morning, Mr. Happy was outside Mr. Rude's house, suitcase in hand. Mr. Happy knocked on Mr. Rude's front door. "Go away," shouted Mr. Rude. Mr. Happy knocked again. Mr. Rude opened the door. "Can't you read?" said Mr. Rude, pointing to his doormat. Mr. Rude's doormat did not say welcome like everyone else's doormat. Mr. Rude had crossed that welcome that in a large black letters had written "Go away" underneath. Mr. Happy smiled, barged past Mr. Rude, and went to the living room. "Get the out," shouted Mr. Rude. Mr. Happy said, even larger smile, sat down in the armchair. Mr. Rude exploded. He ranted and raged for half an hour, but Mr. Happy calmly sat through it all, smiling. Eventually, Mr. Rude went to the kitchen to make himself supper without offering any to Mr. Happy. After supper, Mr. Rude ranted and raged for a full hour, but whenever Mr. Rude called him, Mr. Happy took no notice. Finally, Mr. Rude turned out the lights and went upstairs without offering Mr. Happy a bed for the night. While he came down the way, Mr. Happy was still there, still smiling. "Okay, I give in," cried Mr. Rude. "What do you want?" "Breakfast would be nice," said Mr. Happy. "Please." Mr. Rude made breakfast for him. It was the first time in Mr. Rude's life that he had ever done anything for someone else. In fact, it was the first time he had ever asked anyone what they wanted. "Thank you," said Mr. Happy when he finished. "Right, you can go now," demanded Mr. Rude. But Mr. Happy did not much. Mr. Rude ranted and raged and ranted. But he ended up making a lunch for Mr. Happy and supper. He even offered Mr. Happy a bed that night. Mr. Happy stayed for a fortnight. Slowly, the ranting and raging became less and less. Mr. Rude discovered that he had something he had never known he possessed. Manners. When it was time for Mr. Happy to leave, he shook Mr. Rude's hand and said, "Thank you so much, Mr. Rude. I really enjoyed my stay." Mr. Rude beamed a smile that was pretty big and wide, and Mr. Happy found himself saying, "And so did I." Mr. Rude was a changed man. Burp belched Mr. Rude. Well, almost. No boy, that Baru is cat. How could Mr. Rude be on Mr. Red's show without the hat and he has the hair and he has the shoes on and what? I'm gonna talk to Mr. Noisy. And people would say, in the whole wide world there be talking about people. Well, I think it's some egads. I like a piece of What is... I think you... Stop. spilling the geoplay. I'm thinking you have given me away tickles for content, Mr. I thought you said you were going to have exploding people. I'll give you exploding people. Mr. Rude. Hey, you